Have you ever thought about what people will say about you after you're gone, after you die? Well, it might surprise you to know that it probably won't be how hard you worked, how much you worked, how much money you made, how expensive your house was, or even who got the Ferrari that was always parked in the driveway. Well, they're not likely going to talk about any of those things. They won't talk about what you owned, who got what your house sold for. I mean, likely not even talk about what was written in your will. Now, I know some of you are more cynical out there, but studies really show that more often than not, after the death of a family member, the lasting memories are focused on how you made them feel, your time together with them, and remembering those memories. How you laughed, Sunday dinners, how you handled hard times, and remembering you in the bleachers at the ball games. You were always there, always there. Those are the things that really carry on. So, why do we spend so much focus on our stuff? I do it for a living, estate planning, right? Estate planning is so much more, though, than a distribution list. It's about life, it's about legacy, and it's about leaving memories of you and your generation and what you did while you were here, right, as an important piece to your overall family's history. I'm Nancy Cogar, and this is Boomer Time, of course, and I'm so glad you're here today. We are talking legacy. We are talking a part of estate planning that sometimes doesn't make the mix, more often than not, really. Estate plans are built around distributing assets, property. Very few are built on preserving the identity, the values, the legacy that you leave. I rarely see that. Although, like I said, those memories are the most recurring that family, friends, and communities crave after someone dies. So we're going to talk about that today. Your estate plan should include you, personal information as to how you want to be treated later in life and how you do want distribution of your estate. But what about the big things? What you thought about things? What was important to you? What was the most challenging thing that you've gone through? We're talking about a different kind of estate planning, one that goes beyond those documents and the dollars and focuses more on those lasting questions of who you are, what you believe, and what you want to carry forward to the people that you love. It's an integral part of estate planning. So I want to talk more about that today and offer some tips and some resources. So stick with me. I've got some good information for you in the podcast that you're going to want to have. And then, of course, I'm going to have resources on the website, which I like to do that. So I think this will help with this. And I really want you to explore these questions, right? Here's a question just to start. What is legacy? It sounds so big and important, but what does it mean to say legacy should be part of your estate plan? What does that mean? What does that look like? What does it mean to you, more importantly? Well, I looked at a few quotes on legacy from some of our more famous authors, and I thought it was interesting what they said. So here's three of them. So Maya Angelou, the poet and wonderful writer, she said, "People will forget what you said. People will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel." Peter Strobel, who I've quoted in my book, and I want to talk about my book in just a little bit, he said legacy is not leaving something for people. It's leaving something in people. These are the real important, impactful times in your life. Ralph Waldo Emerson said, "To know that even one life has breathed easier because you have lived. This is what it means to succeed." I like that. Yeah, I like focusing on those big questions. This reframes the conversation about success, because success is more than property. And legacy is about impact. It's not about accumulation. You know, who would you tell someone else about your life? What would you say? What would you want them to remember? That's your legacy, okay? I think it helps to get the brain going and Think about some of these questions. You have ideas? Well, hold that thought because we're going to talk more about it right after this. Welcome back to Boomer Time. Nancy Cogar here, and I am so glad you're here. Hey, we've been talking about this for a while, but I am so excited to tell you that the Boomer Time Blueprint is out, and you can purchase a paperback, a hard copy coming, ebook, audiobook, all there on Amazon for you. And I hope you will do that. This has wonderful information in it. I'm already receiving a lot of positive feedback that this is meant to help people and give you an idea of why all these things I talk about all the time are so important. And, also talk about some of the things that might happen if you don't do it. So I hope it changes some thoughts out there. You can also go to my website, of course, nancycogar.com. There's lots of resources there in addition, including one from this episode today. So I want to tell you more about that. I also want to remind you that it's so important to subscribe to the podcast, follow it and subscribe. That helps me to reach more people. And I'm trying really hard to build this community, so I would really appreciate your help. If you can do that for me, I thank you in advance. So we are talking legacy planning. We are talking about really what is the most valuable item in your life today. And that's you and the person that you are, the legacy you're leaving. You should really make that a part of your estate plan. And sometimes it's known as what's called an ethical will. It's a will, last will and testament, for a different purpose. It doesn't give anything. It's not a legal document, but it's a legacy letter. It's a personal document where someone can share their values, their life lessons, their beliefs, their stories of overcoming challenges, hopes, love, funny stories, all of that for family you leave behind. And even for the future generations. So much family history is lost. Even in my family, my grandfather was a district attorney in Minnesota. He was also a World War I veteran. He was boyhood friends with Charles Lindbergh. I mean, that is amazing to me. What history, what stories there. But he didn't leave any of that behind. So I don't have that. I really wish I did. Think about some of the things you've done. It's not a legal document. It's not a transfer of assets. It doesn't replace the will. You still need a enforceable last will and testament that does dispose of your property. This is about what do you want your family to remember about you? What do you want them to carry forward? That's so powerful. So legacy is not just about the financial transfer because, as I've said many times, this generation of baby boomers represents the largest transfer of wealth in the country's history. It's significant. But there's more to it than that. There's stories, success stories, challenges, like I said, values, memorable moments, hardships, victorious times, relationships, and even life lessons. I love when I see some older adults on social media and they talk about, if I had to do it over again, or here's what I've learned and I wanted to share with you, don't do this. Spend more time doing this. They should know. Been around the block more times than most of us. And those are the lasting things they're wanting to communicate. So 50% of people out there say legacy is important to them. They believe the idea, life is about lasting impact and what you leave behind. I believe that. Unfortunately, that's not what's typically included in an estate plan. For the most part, it is still transactional, focusing on assets, taxes, probate avoidance, dispositions. It doesn't include, more often than not, meaning, memories, values, stories, all of that. Legacy can mean different things to different people. I actually found a recent study that if you want to take a deeper dive into all this, I could leave that on the website too. But it's the nonprofit Charities AIDS Foundation that looks at charitable giving and took a look at this and found that 35% of people see generosity as simply doing the right thing. Yes, kindness can go a long way, but there's so much more available. 21% say they want to give to a specific mission that they care about deeply. I see people doing that all the time. I was in Memphis recently and had the opportunity to visit St. Jude Children's Hospital. Incredible. They stated and told me that I think it was 95% of their budget is made up of independent donors. 95%. That's incredible. So that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. And personal connections, being motivated by ties or community gratitude, wanting to give back. Say you had a scholarship at a school and you want to give back because of the difference that it made in your life. Those are the kinds of things we're talking about. Important, right? Life-changing, continuing on changes. But 5%, only 5% of estate plans include anything relevant to legacy. And 75% of people with the means to give have absolutely no formal legacy giving plan at all. At 60%, I know I'm giving you a lot of numbers, but 60% of people have no plan at all. I've mentioned that before. So that writes them out of the picture right then because they don't have a plan. And they're reverting back to state law. There's no intentional giving there. These are important things to think about. So when you're not preserving these things, it can lead to a wide range of issues, believe it or not. And I've seen it, people. I've seen it. So you do not give sentimental items even to family members or do something to keep that organized and controlled. You're going to see family conflict. I've mentioned this before, the Christmas ornaments and glitter and all this stuff that was down in a crawl space of a house with two lawyers, including myself, standing there while the three kids were arguing about who was going to get that. It was moldy. It had been there forever, but that wasn't the point. It was fighting over sentimental value. Then there can be misunderstandings about unequal distributions. If you've got property, figure it out, right? Figure it out. Well, some things are more valuable than other things, and that can create conflict. These are the types of things I'm thinking of. Christmas ornaments, right? The handwritten recipe box. Grandma's handwritten recipe box. Who wouldn't want that? And you think they're going to share it? Maybe not. That's got a lot of history in there. Photos, right? Photos are precious. But still, I think more people don't do this. Not because they don't want to, but I think they don't know how to do it or start, right? And others don't even know it's an option. So that's why I want to share some help with you today. I want to talk about the things you should be thinking about if you want to start thinking about leaving a portion of your legacy. Not necessarily financial, okay? And I'm going to have another resource online too, on my website, nancycogar.com. There's lots of stuff there, and I love resources, so I hope you check that out. But I will have more on those tips in just a minute. Okay, I'm going to take a little break, but I'll be back. Stay with me. So we are talking legacy building. I do a lot of estate planning, and I'm going to make a more concerted effort to start incorporating legacy into those estate plans. Talk about personalized planning all the time. That needs to include your personal story. That just makes sense, right? So I've got a few practical steps to start thinking about these things. We spend years building wealth and minutes preparing the people who are going to receive that after we're gone. We need to spend more time on this, I think. So here are a few practical steps to get started. Why don't you start by writing just a one-page personal letter? Maybe write those to each of your children. Everybody's different. Maybe there's something you want to communicate. Maybe you want to apologize for something. Maybe you want to share your best memory with them. Those things are important. They're lasting. They're changing. That'd be a good option. How about this? We all have cameras on our computers these days. You could record a 5-minute message to your family. I would love that, and they can go back and watch it again and again. We can do that here as part of your estate plan. You could provide a list of personal items you want to pass down and tell them the story behind the personal item. Why is it important to you? Why are you giving it to them? That's the kind of stuff that you don't want to lose. At least I don't want to. Hey, the holidays, right? There's China. I know a lot of younger people don't want to use your China anymore. We've gotten away from that, but I believe things come around. If you've got silver and China and antique China, tell them why it's worth preserving. Tell them the story about how you got that when you were first married. Tell them about the pattern. Why is it important to you? I guarantee you that they may not be interested in it now, but they'll probably be interested in it back then or later. And their kids could also be interested in it. That's a wonderful way to look back and remember things. It gives some importance to them, right? How about, an intentional conversation with someone? Like I said, it could be a letter. It could be a video. It could be eyeball to eyeball. These are the things you can't take back. So if you've got the opportunity to do it, I would recommend it. Review your estate plan. I talk about that a lot. It may be time to update some things. Maybe you add on to it. Does your estate plan reflect who you are as a person, or is it just what you own and generic that way? Where are you in there? Do you want to be in there? Do you not like the way it looks? Maybe it doesn't really capture your essence, right? These are important things to think about. At the end of the day, an estate plan is not supposed to be just transfer of wealth. It's a final message, really, right? A final opportunity to say, this is who I was. This is what mattered to me. And this is what my hope is for you that lives on through you. Because, unless something happens and we escape death here in the world, someday you are going to pass away and your voice will no longer be in the room. But if you plan as part of your legacy can still be there. Like I said about my grandfather, I would love to have those stories. I do have a diary that he kept from when he was serving in World War I. And it doesn't really have very interesting things in it, but it's his handwriting. And it's things he was doing on a day-to-day basis. Wow, I cherish that. I cherish it. So if you haven't started thinking about any of this, this is your moment, right? Take a small step. Start thinking about it. Write something down. Record something. Ask yourself these questions. And you can also benefit from the worksheet that I have on the website. So I would recommend that you go to nancycogar.com and you will find this. You can search all kinds of things on my website, but it's there for you and it's meant to help. It'll be attached to the podcast, so it'll be easy to find. And most of all, schedule a review. If it's necessary, do it, and you will be glad you did. You can call me. We can schedule a time, and let's focus on not just property. Let's focus on what matters most. I don't want that to get lost for you. So before we end our time together, I just wanted to talk again about the book. And I have already started to receive really good feedback. I wanted to share just a couple of the reviews that I've received. And that, these really capture why I want to have this book in your hands. This is going to impact you. It's going to impact your family. I believe it's going to shape a future for your parents, possibly. You're a caregiver. It will help you. It's a good investment, I think. And it's available now. So here's what one former caregiver said. He had gone through the caregiver role in the end of life with his father. And the book hit hard for him, sobering. But he said as hard as it was helpful. And that I brought a mix of compassion, honesty, and just insights you're not going to get anywhere else, letting you know how you can make it through this storm. So thank you. That is exactly what I'm looking for. Another one said, this is a must read. The insight from Nancy is clear, concise, and made to be utilized. I've enjoyed her podcast. Thank you. And I am thrilled now to have an owner's manual to use for my aging parents and to provide help to my own children in the future. Wow, that is awesome. Changing the future. I want to direct your paths so that you have the resources to do that more specifically. Last one. Love the book. I bought several copies for my friends. Thank you. You should do the same. It provides practical advice for those of us who will be caring for elderly parents and provides more insight into what will be required, preparing for even that journey, and where it may take us. Great stuff. This makes me so happy to see these reviews from people that have already purchased the book. And I encourage you, go to Amazon and purchase Boomer Time Blueprint. You will be glad you did. And leave a review. I love seeing those reviews. All right, well, I've enjoyed our time together, and I hope you've learned a little bit more about legacy and the importance of including that in your estate plan. So I will see you next time here on Boomer Time.